G'day everyone and welcome to what I hope is gonna be a cracker of a video. I am a big fan of battery nail guns and battery framing nailers in particular. And so this is, oh, it's a fun one. On the bench today we have three different nailers that I'm going to put up against each other, just compare the features and compare their punching power. Now I didn't buy any of these nailers outright. The Milwaukee was given to me by Milwaukee some time ago to do a different review. That will be up in the top corner. I had a look at all the different Milwaukee nailers, and in that video this one was the only one that was supplied to me. The Ryobi was given to me by Ryobi for purposes of reviewing also, and the video before this was a closer look at that particular nailer. And the AEG was a redemption promo. I bought an AEG kit of 4 tools, and that was a freebie that came with it, and I bought the kit just so I could get that as a freebie because I wanted to try the nailer out. So they all cost me nothing except my soul, and so I guess we're on an even playing field. You could basically call this a TTI Framer Showdown. What is TTI? Well, TTI is Tektronix Industries. That is the company that owns all three of these brands. So you're going to see some similarities between these. If you didn't already know that, they're all the same company. Each brand is basically just a different sort of price bracket. At the back we have the Milwaukee, which is like the pro grade of TTI tools. So this is what, you know, most builders will be using out of these three. And Milwaukee have a great range of tools. And this is a very popular nailer. At the front we have the more DIY style tool, the Ryobi, a more easily accessible brand to a lot of people, and a lot more people around the house are going to have Ryobi tools. So this is like your budget DIY version. And then in the middle you have the AEG, which is, as I've just said, basically in the middle. High-end DIY tool or lower-end pro tool. Take your pick. Prices on these things are different all around the world, but basically in this country there's about a $100 jump from this to this, and then about another $100 from this to this. So let's take a look at the similarities first, and then we'll take a look at the differences. All three of them will take 90mm framing nails between 30 and 34 degrees. All three of them fire the nails with an air piston type system. All three of them have a belt hook. All three of them on the other side of the tools have a rafter hook, with this one being plastic, this one being metal, and this one being metal. All three of them come with a Nomar tip. Can you guess which one's which? All three of them will fire nails between 50 and 90mm, or 2 inches to 3.5 inches, and all three of them are very good nailers. I like all three of these tools, but there are some differences which I will now point out. Taking a look at the differences now, we can put these nailers into sort of two categories. We have Ryobi and AEG on the left, and Milwaukee here by itself on the right. So why have I done that? Well, this tool is, as you can see, it looks different to the other two. The other two, very similar design. This one, it's got a few differences. It's got a few obvious ones like nicer hooks. It's a bit slimmer than the other two. It's not quite as tall and chunky as the other two. Has a different magazine design. There's just a few differences. It has a very different nose tip design compared to the other two. This one, Milwaukee, as you can see, very thin, very different design compared to these two, which are both round. Ryobi and AEG, pretty identical in the front. Now the only really difference is that the AEG is orange. Now I say AEG, but in the States this would be called a Ridgid. All the same company, all the same exact tool. And the other difference here is that we've got a couple of bolts exposed here, which Ryobi have chosen to cover up with the plastic here. But apart from that, it is the same magazine and same nose firing tip design. The only difference here with the magazines, once again, the color. This is a black aluminium and this is a silver. This has AEG written on it, and this they have omitted the word AEG. You can see where they have changed the mold. There is a slight difference in design to the bottom of the magazine here, but once again the plastic on the back is identical, just a different color. Now the Ryobi is the newest of the three guns, and it has something the other two don't have, and it is a shock absorber for the battery area, which is quite interesting. I haven't seen a shock absorber quite this obvious, quite this much movement. So that's something the other two don't have, so that's good. AEG has a light at the base here. Makes it easy to see when the tool is ready to go or has an issue, whereas the Ryobi, they have put it in here, a little bit harder to see, but those lights have the same purpose. Green, ready to go. Red, low battery or needs maintenance. Flashing red, it's a jam. I haven't had much problem with the AEG in regard to the red light coming on, but the Ryobi, in the short time I've had it, much more in the way of red lights coming on. I don't know why. There hasn't been any jams, there hasn't been any low battery issue. It just doesn't like certain angles. If you've been firing for too long and stuff, it just wants a 10-second break sort of thing. Now the feature that I like about these two that I think is much better than the Milwaukee is that when you pick it up, your finger automatically touches a trigger under here. On the AEG it's sort of about that finger, whereas on the Ryobi it is this finger. So middle finger on the Ryobi and the next finger down, whatever that one's called, on ring finger. Depends on what hand you're using and stuff, I suppose, on the AEG or Ridgid. Now what does that little button do? That little button, as soon as you pick it up and grab the tool, like you're going to use it, it's now active because that little trigger has turned on the tool and bang, you can fire. Once you've pushed the tip down, obviously. Both of those do that, and it is a great feature. You don't have to remember to turn the tool on with a separate button like you have to on the Hikoki or the Milwaukee. You just pick it up and go. And that's great if you are a DIYer and you're not using the nailer all day. You're sort of putting it down, you're going off, cutting a bit of wood, coming back, getting it in position, then picking up your nailer, bang. It's damn annoying when you do it with one of the other ones and you do all that and then you pick up the nailer and you go, oh shit, oh damn it, it won't fire, ah. And you're holding a piece of wood at an awkward angle and you've got to put everything down so that you can push the button on the damn nailer to get it going again. So I love that feature and I wish all nailers did it like that. Let's now take a closer look at the Milwaukee. So this is the more premium of the three and you can sort of feel it when you pick it up. It does just feel slightly better built than the other two. The magazine is a bit different, as you can see. It's a bit slimmer in places, a bit easier to get into different angles with this tool, different tighter spaces than the other two. And when we look at the firing tip here, the nose design very different, like I said, than the other two, and a much nicer dial for getting your depth setting. The magazines load the same on all three tools. Slide your nails in from the back, pull this lever forward, let it go, and it automatically pushes them into place. Now when it comes to taking nails back out, it is much easier on the Milwaukee because there is nothing at the back to stop the nails from coming out. Now normally I would just pick this up and tip it up and they would slide out the back, but because we're on a bench it makes it look a bit awkward. They just slide out, so there's nothing to stop them, whereas the Ryobi and the AEG, you have to push in this little metal tang here because it is stopping the nails from being able to slide back out. Now the other notable difference is of course the power button area like I was just talking about. So with this tool you have to push the button for a few seconds, it turns on, stays on for quite a long time, a lot longer than the Hikoki or Metabo HPT, so that's good, but not as easy as just picking it up and having that trigger down there like the other two have. Now this one you can see has a single nail there and a group of nails here and a mode button. So you push the mode button and it will switch between single fire, so that means sequential mode, push the tip down, pull the trigger. Take it off, push the tip down, pull the trigger. Here you have the rapid fire or bump mode, which means if you have your finger on the trigger, as soon as your tip touches your timber, it will fire every time. Just bang, 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 bang. No having to take your finger off the trigger. Now the other two tools do have that also, but not these particular models because this is New Zealand and they don't like bringing in those ones here, even though Milwaukee have brought this one into New Zealand. But there are some sites where you might have a certain person who comes to inspect that doesn't like bump fire because they don't actually understand the rules and they think it's against the rules when it's actually not. So to play it safe, most companies don't bother bringing in bump fire ones, and as far as I'm aware, Milwaukee are the only ones that have got the guts to actually do it. Ryobi, AEG, Hikoki don't do it. They're only single fire in New Zealand. Don't worry, in the rest of the world you can get a bump fire. We're not going to test the bump fire in this video. This is all just going to be how deep these fire, what angles they fire at, and you know, well, how much do they weigh? Yeah, we haven't done that yet. Weight is very important when it comes to framing nailers, because you could be holding this thing all day if you're a professional, and so you want the thing to be light. Unfortunately, none of these tools are light. Not yet. They're working on it, no doubt, but at this point in time, with the technology we currently have, they're heavy things. Can I get this to stay on here? 4.4 kgs for the Milwaukee. About 20 grams lighter for the AEG. And the Ryobi also 4.4 kgs in between the other two. So there's only 10 grams between each one. AEG the lightest, 10 grams to the Ryobi, and then another 10 grams to the Milwaukee. I'm surprised they're all that close, because this Ryobi one I've just been using and it feels pretty heavy. And if we compare that to the Hikoki or Metabo HPT, we're looking at just over 4 kgs. 4,066 grams, so about 350 grams lighter without a battery than the other three. Quite surprised at that. Right, I'm going to chuck a 6 amp hour battery on each one of these now, because that's the only amp hour that I have with all three of these tools. And we'll go fire into some homemade LVL. I'm going to fire a full clip of 90mm framing nails with each nailer flat out, see if they stop, see if they jam up, see how deep they go, and see how consistent they are at firing. Full clip speed test into LVL. Let's go. Got a red overload light. Back to green. And we are done, full clip. So it did about 30 odd nails, I think, before it did that red overload. This is the AEG. So all of those nails are consistently deep. A couple of little pauses there in the firing. That's because I was just going a little bit too quick for the gun to handle, but nothing to worry about. Overall, very good performance. And last but not least, the Milwaukee. Halfway through that, I could see that these weren't going in as deep as the AEG ones, and I realized I hadn't wound this all the way out, so we'll do that one more time. Okay, Milwaukee, take 2. That's even worse. Always remember to wind it the right way, eh? Let's try it again. Considerably deeper. Considerably. Alright, we're going to try some angle shots here. Recoil test, Ryobi. Recoil test, AEG. Recoil test, Milwaukee. Now I know a lot of you are dodgy buggers and you love firing framing nails straight through brackets and joist hangers and what have you, so I'll chuck some 50mm nails in these things and we'll see how well they fire straight through a bracket. Ryobi 50mm nail through bracket. no bother at all. AEG 50mm nail through bracket, no bother at all. Milwaukee 50mm nail through bracket. Well, all three of those smashed that. Okay, final torture test. We have some color steel 0.55mm flashing here, and on top of that we're gonna put 3 pieces of H3 treated 18mm structural ply. So we've got to go through 3 sheets of ply, then through the steel, and then into the ply again. Are they going to have the guts to do that? First up, the Ryobi with 90mm framing nails. Let's go. Not a problem. AEG. Finally, the Milwaukee. Well, all 3 of them had no problem with that. When it came to showing you how deep these nails punched, I was going to show it to you from the top. But once I picked up the piece of wood here, I thought it actually looks better from the bottom. So I measured my piece of LVL here, and it's 90mm. I might have said it was 100 earlier. So this is the Ryobi nails here, and they are not protruding from the bottom, just slightly starting to come through. We jump across to the AEG, you can see that's splitting through the base a little bit better. And then when we get to the Milwaukee, hello, what do we got going on here? They are well and truly through the bottom. Very, very clear to see. Let's have a look at the top. So the Ryobi, consistent, good depth penetration, all good. AEG, we're going in a bit deeper here than the Ryobi, surprisingly, even though they're pretty much basically the same tool, you would think, but maybe we need to put a few more PSI into the Ryobi. And then next to that we have the Milwaukee on about half depth setting, and then these ones here are the Milwaukee with the depth setting at its highest. And then once we've got it at its deepest, you can't even see the nails there so far in there. It has really pushed those deep, as we just saw from the other side. Much better penetration from the Milwaukee than the other 2. So basically in the order you would expect: Milwaukee, AEG, Ryobi. If we take a look at these ones next to each other, we can see it just that little bit better. The Ryobi and the AEG pretty similar, although it looks like the Ryobis did a slightly better job there. Which way round did I fire these? But the Milwaukee, as you can see, well and truly in there. So this was the test for the recoil, and definitely less noticeable recoil. Even though it's punching in deeper, the Milwaukee not as bad on your tennis elbow as the other 2. And at the moment my elbow is not in a happy place. Unfortunately, my tennis elbow is the worst it's been in the last 10 years. For some reason I chose this period of time to test nail guns when my elbow was killing me before I even started. So it was actually quite a good time to test it, probably for overall knowing of, you know, how good it is, because the Milwaukee, definitely less recoil and less kickback into my poor fucking elbow. So on a 45, as you can see, the Ryobi, not bad, but still sticking out a little bit. If you're putting something over the top of that, you might have to hammer these in first. The AEG, doing a little bit better. That one there is just about in, that one as well. That one there, almost as bad as one of the Ryobis, but the AEG does a little bit better. And then the Milwaukee, once again, they are buried good and proper. So when you're doing framing and you're wanting to do a lot of angle shooting, which you will be doing if you are a builder, then the Milwaukee is the way to go. DIY purposes, you'll probably get away with the Ryobi. Right, well there you go. They are all great nailers, but we'll just talk about a couple more things and wrap this thing up. When I spoke earlier about the trigger under here, I think I better just clarify. That turns the tool on. You don't have to hold your finger on it the whole time. So it's on. It now stays on for about 20 minutes. So if you're in a weird angle or something and you're holding the tool up the other way, and sometimes you don't have your hand on the actual handle, like I do anyway, you can still pull the trigger and it will fire a nail. You just need to trigger that sort of once every, whatever it was, 20 minutes, something like that. That's the same on the Ryobi and the AEG. The Ryobi and the AEG both stand on their heads like that quite easily, which is a way I like to put nail guns down, because it means when you're standing above them you just grab them and they're ready to go. You're sort of in your hand waiting to go. The Milwaukee sits like that on an angle that kind of makes it look like it's about to fall over all the time. Just, it's on quite a slant, more of a slant than it actually looks on that screen anyway. And it looks like it would do it on its head as well. It's got a couple of bumpers there, but it is not going to balance on its head, I'm afraid. But the Ryobi and the AEG, piece of cake. Now, when all is said and done, most of you are probably going to buy the nailer that you've already got the batteries for, right? But if you're starting out, if you are going to be a builder, if you're an apprentice, that sort of thing, go for this one. This has got the most power. You can get in on the best angles. It's a good nailer. They make a great range of nailers now, Milwaukee too, and there's more on the way. There's even another generation of the framing nailer not too far away, so I'm told. So it's a good battery platform to get into if you like nailers, although all three of them do have a pretty good nailer selection now. A lot better than, say, a Teal company currently has. And all three of these framing nailers, much better than the yellow ones, he says as he braces for the attacks in the comment section. If you're interested in getting any of these, I'll put links down below. If you're in Australia and New Zealand, these of course available at Bunnings. If you're in New Zealand and you want one of these and you want a bump fire one, I suggest Tradie Republic down in the description. They stock them, not everybody does. If you're elsewhere in the world, I'll put some Ridgid links, some Ryobi links to Home Depot and Amazon, whatever in the UK and Milwaukee, wherever I can find them. They'll all be down in the description. So thanks for watching, and we'll just finish with a tip timeout test. What I mean by that is when you actuate the end of the tip, you've got a certain length of time to pull the trigger before the tool times out, and then you won't fire the nail and you'll have to lift it off and go again. So are they the same on all three of these tools, or is one better than the others? Let's take a look. TTI time now, tip timeout test. Ryobi is up first. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nothing. AEG. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nothing. Milwaukee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. As you can see, the Milwaukee can last twice as long at the tip test timing. And believe it or not, that is super handy if you're working by yourself, trying to get into tight spaces and gaps and stuff, and you're holding wood by yourself. You want that to last as long as possible, because if it times out, it can be very frustrating. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and tap the fucking like button too. Oh yeah. I'm not still recording, am I? And cut.